Are we straight? It's got to be straight. If it's not straight, you know what they say, if it's not gelling, then it's not jello. Guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and tell me in the broadcast, tell me in the comments if this broadcast is clear. Although I must tell you, I will take this cap off as soon as I start talking. And guys, this is a cap. It is not a kep. I know we say kep. It's not a kep, it's a cap. Where's my phone? I need to check on my monitor here. Where's my bag? I think my bag is underneath my desk. Can you believe that? Guys, do me a favor, just hop on here and see if you can get a few people to jump on the live. You know, I thought I had my phone. I don't have my phone. The worst possible thing is to lose your phone. I don't have it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I've got it. I was going to dig it out somehow. Tell you what. Are we on here? Tell me we're on here. Also, I need to know that we're loud and clear. Okay, I've got 3 phones. There is no reason, there is no plausible reason for anyone to have 3 phones. It is a headache. It's an absolute waste of time. In 2020, I'm pledging that after August, I'm only going to have 2 phones. I'm going to break it down to two phones. So I'm just going to check my monitor here. Please, as you watch this, tag people that you think would be interested in this conversation. And let's talk about it. I'm just going to double check and hop on here real quick, guys. And incidentally, please do me a favor. If you could go to your phone, dial star 2026. That's 2026 hashtag or hash. And then it'll prompt you to vote for the person of your choice. I'm asking you to vote for me. So that is star 2026 hash. And then if you could vote Chitambala Mwewa for mayor. And let's see how the score comes out. Can we do that? Tell me, could one of you just post that in the comment section? Star 2026 hash, and then also type my name, my full name, Chitambala Mwewa. I would be grateful if you would vote for me online. I was amused. I was watching a few ladies from Kanyama, and they were saying, we don't want a social media mayor. Well, and they said, we don't want anyone that is birthed out of social media. Well, hagainde hichilema. Largely won in part because of social media. Guys, social media is the new sphere of attention. You must know this. Anybody that attempts to ignore the significant impact that social media plays, especially when it comes to elections, you do so at your own peril, or as we say in Zambia, at your own peril. Of course, we're not suggesting that social media is the only gigantic piece. It's one of the pieces of many, many different pieces. However, it's one of the biggest pieces in the whole jigsaw puzzle. Against the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture will tell you that anybody that ignores social media is doing so at their own peril. So don't ignore social media. Incorporate it in everything and anything you do. And also, can I give you a hack? Are you ready for this? Are you ready? The smart ones already know this, but I'm gonna give, and this one I'm gonna give for free. This is to all political candidates. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter which political party you're from. It doesn't matter your political persuasion. I'm going to give you a free hack. If you want to make a dent, an impact on social media, use TikTok. Facebook is great. I love Facebook and I use it. But I tell you, TikTok, let me tell you why TikTok is the truth. Is because everybody in the markets are on TikTok. Banamayo. Namayo ni doom scroller. Do you know what a doom scroller is? There is not a person on this planet that is a bigger doom scroller than Namayo Amu City Market. Namayo Amu Simon Mwewa Market. Namayo Amu Soweto. Namayo Amu Lumumba. Namayo Amu Intercity. Namayo Amu Parakurima Tower. You can't beat those Namayos when it comes to doom scrolling. The vast majority of our women in the markets, in the bus stations, in our communities, they're not content creators. They are consumers. They are consumers. So because they're consumers and you're the content creator, put your product in front of their faces. In this case, you being a political contender, you, in a sense, are a product. So package your product and place your product on TikTok. You'll thank me later. And that's the truth. That's the free one there, boy. I won't even charge you for that. I won't. All righty, let's get into it. Guys, in order for you to understand this portion of the broadcast, I need to give you some context. I need to give you some history. Because if I don't do that, you won't understand where I'm going. In order for you to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. Okay, so that's the premise. So here it is. On the last day of the full council meeting at Lusaka City Council, there were several key players that schemed in and amongst themselves to bring down the legacy of the late Dr. Simon Mwewa. Now, for a moment, I want you to forget that he's my dad. Okay, just keep in mind that this is a man that served this country gallantly. He served it with honor, dignity. His fingerprints are all over this city. Somebody may ask, well, what do you mean? I'll give you a few examples. The society building that you see, that's a society house there. Who do you think spearheaded that project? Dr. Simon Mwewa. Intercity bus terminus. His fingerprint is on Intercity bus terminus. Who do you think spearheaded and started that project? Dr. Simon Mwewa. What we know today as Soweto Market, who do you think started that? Dr. Simon Mwewa. Who opened and built the first business that opened the teeming business atmosphere on this side of town? Remember, in the 1980s, what you see now as City Market, Lumumba Road, this side of town, in the 80s, nobody came here. Who opened the business community here? By building this thing called Simoson, Dr. Simon Mwewa. So therefore, his fingerprint is self-evident. His fingerprint is there for everybody to see. He served as mayor, served as governor, served as managing director of ZNBS, Zambia National Building Society. Many different portfolios, and he did it with dignity. So on the last day of the full council meeting, the town clerk in Dava, who I've always known was an enemy of progress, okay? Because town clerk in Dava is basically there to just milk the council. He's not there to serve the city. He doesn't even care anything about the city, okay? So town clerk in Dava, in collaboration with the outgoing mayor of Lusaka, Chilando Chitangala, who equally found herself in a position of mayor, but really didn't do anything tangible with the city. She was basically swept away by the sludge and the corrupt nature of Lusaka City Council, and she was sort of swept away by this sludge of filth. And instead of fighting against it, she just was sort of carried away with it. And she didn't do anything for the city. However, she did build her empire, which, you know, that's fine because she's an entrepreneur. But I've always said that if you're going into public service for the sole purpose of building your empire, then without serving the city, then I don't think you're in it for the right reasons. You're in it for self-aggrandizement, which is what most of these councillors do. Most of these so-called mayors that go into these positions are in there to just, you know, sort of milk the system. And I'll never forget a councilman, I won't name him, but he did say this to me. This was very early on when people were sort of whispering in my ear that you should consider running for mayor. And I'll be very frank with you, in the beginning, I really wasn't interested in that. I loved the fact that I vlog when I want. I love my freedom. I love waking up in the morning, doing whatever I want, you know, of course, within reason. But in the early days, when a few people used to whisper in my ear that, you know, maybe you should consider being a mayor, I remember a councillor walked up to me and says, Mwewa, if you ever make it to mayor, there's a lot of money to be made here. Are you willing to cooperate with the system? Because if you fight against the system will flush you out. We've come here to take care of our families. It is noble and nice for you to talk about how serving the city, but no one is here to do that. We are here to make sure we secure the futures of our family. Are you willing and are you ready, Mwewa, to be part of the system? I looked at him and I said, are you serious when you say that? Are you serious when you say to me that you want me to be a part of a corrupt system, a system that doesn't put the city's needs, wants, and requirements front and center? That we're not in this thing for service, that it's all about milking? He said, Mwewa, wake up and smell the coffee. Don't be naive. Wake up. That is the caliber of councillors we have there at that council. Those chaps. So here it is. Town clerk in Daba, along with the Mayor Chilando Chitangala, along with the Keti Nanyangwe, who is the deputy mayor, along with the Councillor Ngoma, they came up with an agenda to bring down Dr. Simon Mwewa's legacy. Can I tell you that the predominant name, the full agenda of that council meeting was to simply bring down Dr. Simon Mwewa's name because those guys didn't like the fact that I have declared my interest in serving the people of Lusaka, thereby running for mayor of Lusaka. They didn't like that. And so in an effort to disenfranchise me, in an effort to frustrate me, in an effort to anger me, they decided to use their positions of power and influence to bring down the name of Dr. Simon Mwewa. Many of you know that this market, this new market along Lumumba Road, the name Dr. Simon Mwewa is not even on the marquee because there are people in the council who have never liked that idea because the name is associated with me. And so they came up with this scheme and they rallied the entire council, more than 30 council people. Lusaka has about 33 councillors. The country nationwide has about 1,800 councillors. But these four characters used their position of power and influence, and they tabled a proposal. They put on the floor of the chambers there in council, and they said, we propose to remove the name Simon Mwewa and replace it with the name HH, that we'll call it HH Lumumba Market. Now, let me give you the rationale behind that. In their minds, Keti Nanyangwe, the Lusaka mayor, the town clerk, Ndaba, corrupt as hell, who's this, Councillor Ngoma, in their infinitesimal minds, they were thinking, as long as we put HH there, because Ngoma himself phoned me, Councillor Ngoma himself phoned me, trying to absolve himself of blame out of a guilty conscience. He calls me up and says, Mwewa, I just want you to know that when those people proposed that name, HH name, they knew that we as UPND councillors, we couldn't vote against it, so they manipulated us. I just want you to know that I wasn't a part of that. I didn't agree with that, and we know that the boss is not even aware of this, that this was a ploy by Mayor Chitangala. It was a ploy by Town Clerk Ndaba. It was a ploy by Deputy Mayor Keti to frustrate you by using us to vote for this proposal. Of course, when it came out, they didn't think that it would have any impact. And I want to speak to that for a moment. I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. Imagine the number of people that have been disenfranchised over the years because of councillors using their positions of power to bring down people. Now, I'm not a foreigner. Okay, Dr. Simon Mwewa, my late father, was not a foreigner. He was a Zambian that served gallantly. And yet these people using council chambers decided to gang up against him simply because his son, me, has decided to run for mayor. Now, imagine the number of people who don't have a voice, the number of people who are not known, the number of people that don't have a platform, the number of people that have been marginalized, disenfranchised because of people in power in the council chambers. Thankfully, when this thing came out, it landed with a hollow thud because the general public rose up against it. They couldn't see the logic. Because how many people know that if you're explaining something and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense? What was the logic? Why would anyone propose to desecrate, to obliterate, to erase the history of someone that served gallantly simply because his offspring, his son, has decided to run for mayor? What's that? And these people sleep at home at night? They sleep soundly through the night? I can't even imagine using my power. I mean, if I had that power, I couldn't imagine using power to disenfranchise the name of someone that served as Zambian, a black Zambian. I mean, there's Martin Luther King Road there. We love Martin Luther King. If council decided today to remove the name Martin Luther King, what is the logic? What would the logic be? So anyway, thankfully, local government and urban development immediately overturned this decision by Lusaka City Council under the auspices of Town Clerk Ndaba, Mayor Chitangala, Deputy Mayor Keti, and this Councillor Ngoma. Thankfully, the government overturned that because they saw the unfairness. They could see the motive. And then on top of that, after this decision, a few council people, with the exception of Councillor Mpundu, Councillor Mpundu removed himself from that arrangement. He said, look, I don't want to be a part of this. This whole thing is wrong. He's the only councillor, this councillor from Chainda, Councillor Mpundu. He's the only one that stood up and said, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm not going to vote. I deliberately make myself absent for this particular exercise. He's the only one. But there were a few councillors that were trying to justify this decision to vote for this. In their hearts, in their minds, they knew that this was wrong, it was unfair. One of the councillors who attempted to justify it was this councillor from Kamwala, Councillor Mainda Simataa. He went on his Facebook page and he tried to justify. Mwewa needs to understand the system, the way it works, blah, 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 blah. But none of it was gaining traction because what he was saying was absolute bull roar. What he was trying to say was that no, the council knows better. If the council wants to erase the history of gallant Zambians that served this country, that served those chambers long before these boys were born. Councillor Mainda Simataa was not even born when Dr. Simon Mwewa was serving this country. Wasn't even born. Wasn't even there. So, in an effort to justify it, one of the items that was tabled was, many of you know that for many years I've applied for this car park. The council has never given it to me because I'm a black Zambian. The moment a Lebanese applies for that car park, they'll give him. I've been leasing that car park for years. There was a time for about 4 years, PF Cadres took over that car park, but the council was billing me 8,000 kwacha per month. When I finally took those PF Cadres to court, the court gave me back the car park. By that time, the bill had been accrued to almost 400,000. Council didn't even approach anybody. They came straight to me and said, oh, you need to pay us 400,000 kwacha. I said, how am I going to pay you that when you've been billing me, but for more than 4 years, PF Cadres were occupying land that I was legally leased, the land was legally leased to me. I took out 111,000 kwacha and I paid Lusaka City Council cash. All of those things, they were just, the only thing on their minds was, how can we get rid of Mwewa? How can we get rid of Chitambala? These people can even kill. My mother said to me the other day, Sonny, be careful. Be careful. These people can kill you. So, if a Lebanese today decided to apply for that Simon Mwewa market, car park, today they would give him. The other item, because what they decided in the chambers was, let's take away Simon Mwewa's, let's take away Chitambala's car park, let's make it into a bus stop. Now, let me explain why they did that. And the person who was spearheading that is the Director Housing Lusaka City Council. He wears glasses, I don't know his name. I've met him a couple of times. Director Housing Lusaka City Council was the one that was spearheading this project of grabbing the car park from Simoson, because they know that if Lusaka City Council grabs the car park from Simoson, they know that Simoson would die as a business. Director Housing, along with Town Clerk Indaba, were actively involved in the attempted bring down and breakdown of Simoson. Because they knew that if they take away the car park, they will hurt and harm this business exponentially. They knew it. They knew that if they turn that car park into a bus station, it will be predominantly run by cadres. And in that moment, they knew that if cadres take over a car park that is directly opposite Simoson, they knew that cadres would make life difficult for me. They knew that cadres would make life difficult for Simoson. They knew that the moment cadres would take up that space and turn it into a bus station, they knew that cadres would say to me, don't even come here. Don't step foot in this car park. How do you know this? Because that's what cadres do. PF cadres did the same thing. When PF occupied that, they used to tell me, if you step foot on this car park, we will kill you. Director Housing, Lusaka City Council, knew that. That's why they said, no, to frustrate him, to frustrate Mwewa, let's turn it into a bus station. So that when the cadres go there, two things. The cadres will daily threaten Mwewa, number one. And number two, the money that the cadres make from the bus station, they'll be giving us some of the money. We'll be getting some of the money. Do you know that the bus stations in this city, do you know how much money the bus stations make in this town? I'll give you an example. City Market directly opposite me here. Do you know that every bus that leaves City Market pays 50 kwacha? Every single time you exit City Market, you're paying 50 kwacha. Do you know how many buses are in City Market? Thousands of buses. You pay 50 kwacha every single time. So if you're doing 3 trips, that's 150 kwacha you're paying per day for one bus. And there are thousands of buses. Cash money. There is no Lusaka City Council under a town clerk in Dava and under Mayor Chilando Chitangala. They never want an electronic system. This council fights against electronic systems because they know that the money will go straight into Lusaka City Council coffers. What they prefer is this fake receipt system that they've concocted, because they know that if the money is collected in hard cash, it's easier for them to siphon money from the system. They know that. It's a cartel. It's a very dangerous cartel, very massive. But can I tell you, Hakainde Hichilema broke the presidential cartel in this country. Did you know that? Did you know that there was a cartel around the presidency? But Hakainde Hichilema came in and he broke the presidential cartel. There was a clique of thieves surrounding the presidency. There was a clique of people that vowed never to allow Hakainde Hichilema within the conclave of the presidency. Well, the Zambian people said no. The Zambian people said no. The very stone that you have rejected is the one that we have embraced. When HH was ushered into office, he broke that presidential cartel. Well, do you know that there's a cartel? Do you know that there's a cartel, all these buses and bus stations? Do you know that there's a massive gangster cartel and Lusaka City Council is in on it? Do you not know that? Do you know that Intercity generates, has the potential, has the capacity? This is a fact. This is not a number that's just popped into my head. This is scientific, documented data. Intercity bus terminus can generate upwards of 260 million kwacha per month. How much money do they declare? 80 million kwacha. That's it. Under 100 million. Under 100 million kwacha. Intercity alone. But they declare under 100 million, but they have the capacity, the potential, they have the ability, they have the dexterity, dare I say the wherewithal, to generate upwards of 260 million kwacha. Where do you think the deficit goes? That's difference. Where do you think it goes? It goes to Bachikurire kuja ku City Council kuja. They are all sharing that money. Money that is not going into the coffers. Don't be deceived. When people tell you that council is broke, that is the biggest lie ever concocted on the face of the earth. Council is uber rich. Council is uber rich. But because those chaps are just stealing that money, and they're doing it in broad daylight, these people you call councillors, useless chaps, stupid idiots, they're just there to siphon the system. There is not one bone in their body that's geared to service, not one. So here it is. You had that director housing from Lusaka City Council who sat down with the town clerk in Dala. Let us get rid of Mwewa by taking away the car park. And when we give it to the bus stations, there'll be some motivation for us. Number one. Number two, daily, when Mwewa comes to the office, he'll be showered with insults, threats, conflict. They know that. While Director Housing of Lusaka City Council is sitting in an air-conditioned office at the Civic Center there, he knew that if they turned this into a bus station, he knew that every time Mwewa would show up for work, he would be showered with threats, insults. I went through that for many, many years. He knew that. And these are the people that call themselves servants of the people? They're gangsters. They're vagabonds. They're bottom feeders. They are has-beens. That is what they are. The last thing, I had applied to adopt a fence around the market because I could see that the fence was being abused. And incidentally, let me tell you that as a Zambian, you can do that. That is the reason the great son of this soil, Sunny Zulu from Standard Chartered Bank, every time he would go to work, he noticed that Addis Ababa roundabout was derelict. It wasn't being maintained. It was poorly maintained. Sunny Zulu from Standard Chartered Bank decided, no. This cannot be like this. He approached council. He said, council, allow us to adopt this roundabout. In exchange, of course, we shall generate an income, but we will give you part of that income, as long as you allow us to beautify it. Sunny Zulu's initiative with his team. Look at the Addis Ababa roundabout. Beautiful. Equally, Kafue roundabout. The Chinese group, the Chinese wonderful group, you know that building, those beautiful blue buildings, if you're going towards the airport, opposite arcades, what's that? East Park. That group approached Lusaka City Council and said, we've seen that Kafue roundabout is derelict. It's run down. Can we adopt it? Of course, you as council, you'll get a piece of the action because we will generate an income from the roundabout, but we'll also give you a piece of the action. Lusaka City Council said yes. Here comes Mwewa. I approached Lusaka City Council. Oh, I've noticed the fence is being abused by our people. Can I adopt it? But I pay you 10,000 kwacha per month. Town clerk in Daba called me to his office. Mwewa, this is how he talks. This 10,000 kwacha you are offering is too small. Come to the office, we discuss, so that we appreciate the issue on the ground. I went to his office. He called planning, city planning, because those are the guys in charge of putting up billboards and signage and adoptions and all. Town planning, city planning told Councillor Ndava, town clerk in Ndava, this 10,000 kwacha Chitambala Mwewa wants to pay per month for the fence is too small. Charge him 27,000 kwacha per month. I said, okay, why don't we do that? That's fine. I have a letter on my desk from the desk of the town clerk saying to me, we will give it to you for 27,000 kwacha per month, starting immediately. I agreed. In the council chambers there, what's his name? This housing, director housing, along with the town clerk, they proposed on the floor of the house to reject my application to adopt the fence. So Chinese people can adopt. Multinational banks can adopt. But a black Zambian in the name of Mwewa can't adopt. The council used their power to reject my proposal. Why? Two things. I'm a black Zambian. I'm not Chinese, I'm not Lebanese. If I was Chinese, if I was Lebanese, bwana ni olo. But because it's a black Zambian, councillor Ndaba, town clerk in Ndaba and the councillor Ngoma, and that director housing, and the mayor, the outgoing mayor and this outgoing deputy mayor, they all said, no, Afipisa. He's too black. That Mwewa. Haven't you seen his skin? Is he Chinese? He's not Chinese. He's black. Because he's black, don't give him. Don't give him because he's black. And on top of that, he's got the wrong name. His last name is Mwewa. We don't want that name. That's the reason we've proposed on the floor of the chambers to remove that name, because we don't like that name. That name is associated with this Chitambala because he wants to run for mayor. Disenfranchise him. Take away everything so that he remains with nothing. And then we'll see who has the last laugh. That's how those chaps are looking at me. So, thankfully, that decision concerning the name of the market was overturned. And then this Mainda, he made comments based on ignorance. He was not aware of the intricate details, the backdrop, the background. Therefore, after making these foolish statements, he's now turned around and apologized. Why? Because someone enlightened him. Someone opened his eyes. Someone explained to that councillor Simataa, kuti iwe, the mayor, the town clerk, the director housing, and the deputy mayor, they were simply trying to use their power to get back at this Mwewa. They were attacking his father to get to him. They were using their power to get to him. What the hell kind of councillors do we have? What the hell kind of mayors do we have? What the hell kind of director housings do we have that they would use their power to try and frustrate a Zambian? Simoson is the only black Zambian-owned business along this road. Did you know that? Did you know that? Well, are you not aware of that? Everything else, all the businesses here are owned by Chinese, Lebanese, Indian. All businesses here. I'm the only black Zambian left. And yet I am the only black Zambian these people in this cartel target. It's time to drain the swamp. Woo! It's time to hold on to your britches. Let's hit the tires and light the fires. It's time to get rid of them. Remove these chaps. Remove them unceremoniously. Put a line through their names instead of under it. Such people do not belong anywhere near power. Are you getting what I'm telling you? Bad news. Bad news. Makebi Zulu's fake alliance with Brian Mundubile. Isn't it curious that on one hand, Makebi Zulu and Brian Mundubile have announced a pact, but on the other hand, Makebi Zulu went with his supporters alone, flanked by GBM and Jean Kapata. So, where's the logic? You're telling us that you have made an alliance, but you are presenting yourselves as individuals. Be serious. The word of God says, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Okay? Don't speak with a forked tongue. You know. So I don't know what their logic is. Even the photograph, the official picture, you can always tell if there's synergy between people. When they, a picture, that's the reason people say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Have you seen that photograph of Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu holding hands, raised hands? Have you seen the look on their faces? Look at that picture. Oh, here it is. I'll show you. I think I have it. Yeah, I'll show it to you. Oh, here it is. I've got it. Look at their countenance. Look at the way their faces. Look at their faces. They don't look like a happy union. Are you ready? Look. First of all, look at Mundubile's face, Makebi. That face is saying to me, Negro, I don't even want to be here. Look at Brian Mundubile's face. Brian Mundubile is saying, I don't even know who convinced me to do this rubbish. Politics. Do I sick? All right. What's the last thing? What was the last thing? Tell me. All right. What's the last thing? All right. Well, hey, I thought I'd share that with you. I'm trying to see the last thing. What was the last thing? All right. UPND guides on premature celebrations on social media. The party has made it clear. The very same statement they made back in 2021 is the same statement they're making now. They're saying, look, the primaries are simply a recommendation. And the top brass, the National Management Committee, cannot 100% rely on grassroots recommendation. Why? Because the system is porous. At that level, it's all about who has the most money. Do you know how easy it is to buy chairman? Do you have any idea? I mean, these so-called primaries that they announced, none of us were even informed that our names were there. So how do we contend with that? How do we participate? How do we fairly participate in a system where you are not present? They just announced, oh no, my name is Yariatat. Your name is there. Do you have any idea how porous that is? Do you know how porous it is? It's extremely porous. So the top brass of any political party, and this cuts across all they all go through this. Same thing. They know that they cannot fully rely on the recommendation of the grassroots because sometimes it's induced at that level. It's all about motivation. So there has to be an alternative route of selection. There has to be. It would be folly and irresponsible for any political party to say, it's all up to you, we will do everything you say. Awe? Nama politics ya Zambia. Ni olo bwana. Olo. Okay. All right, thought I'd share that with you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.